Hello, and welcome to Women in Retail Talks, the podcast where C-suite executive women in the retail space share their stories of professional growth, leadership development, personal journeys, and more. I'm Melissa Campanelli, the co-founder of the Women in Retail Leadership Circle, a membership-based community of executive women at leading retailers and brands. In this episode, I'm excited to be chatting with Heather Bennett, the president of Michaels, during a live recording from Women in Retail's Pavilion at Shop Talk 2025. Heather discusses topics such as leading through transformations, the importance of risk-taking in leadership, building strong teams, and so much more. We hope you enjoy the conversation.
Well, I'm so thrilled that we have Heather Bennett here. Heather is the president of Michaels, and she has some great stories to tell about her career and leadership. So I'm going to jump in. So first of all, tell us a little bit about your career trajectory, how you ended up at Michaels.
So I will say that I started out in retail when I was like 5, selling things on the corner of my neighborhood cul-de-sac. I would sell rocks, painted rocks that I painted. I would sell stickers. So started out with retail really, really young. And honestly, if you ever have a question about what you should do in life, go back to when you were a child, see what you were passionate about.
True.
And follow that. So apparently for me, it was selling product. So, and that led straight to Michaels, right from that corner cul-de-sac. No, I think like many of us, I'm sure that as we look back on our own careers, ups and downs in terms of how we got to where we are today. And for me, just like really practically, I right out of grad school, I joined Target Corporation. I joined Target because I was enamored with their program of developing people from within. From really rotating people around and getting different experiences. And for me, that growth and development was paramount in terms of what I wanted to have, especially early on in my career. I left Target after 7-ish years and went to go work for Toys R Us. A lot of the main people at Target ended up at Toys, and they brought that same philosophy on development. And really, as you perform, the company is going to invest in you to make sure that you have the experiences that you need to move up in the organization. And then from Toys, I went to luxury retail goods for a minute. I ran my own consulting firm for a little while. I was president of a luxury baby products company called Bugaboo. And now I am at Michaels.
Oh, you went from stickers to stickers.
Stickers to stickers. It's full circle. I'm going to use that in the future. It's a good point.
So as our chats have been this week at our pavilion, we really do like to lead in on leadership topics. And I feel like a topic that is brought up quite a bit is risk-taking. And it's so important to take risks as a leader, especially nowadays. So can you talk a little bit about your approach to risk-taking and maybe some examples of when you took risks and how they turned out?
Yes. And I think, especially for women, I would say risk-taking, I don't know why, but it feels a little scarier than it needs to, and we feel like before we can move forward, we have to be perfect at what we're doing today. And I'm going to tell you right now, that is 100% false. So we can step into something bigger by just believing in ourselves and getting the right foundational skill set and stretching ourselves in a new way. I think for me, from a risk-taking standpoint, as I think about, not necessarily, I would say from a job or career standpoint, but certainly, I haven't been afraid to step into something new. So I started out with a finance background. I moved into strategy. I oversee marketing and e-commerce and business development now. And all of that has come because I've been willing to step in and build a team around me who may not have the expertise that I do to help me get to the place where I need to go. And so, I think, again, as we think about, each of you think about your own careers, really what is it that you can do to help develop yourself and feel confident to step into whatever it is that you want to oversee?
Great. And we also talked on our prep call about leadership styles. How would you describe it, and how has it evolved throughout your career?
Yes, I think this is always the question everybody asks me in interviews. What is your leadership style? What will it be like to work for you? So as much as possible, I try to be the leader that the individual needs at the time. And that really depends a bit on where they are in their own career cycle. Mm-hmm. So if somebody is brand new in role or just promoted into a bigger job, they may just need more of my time. They may need more mentorship. They may need more detail, for me to dig in with them on details to help them to see where they need to go. Whereas, somebody who's experienced or, who's been in role for a while, we just might have strategic direction conversations. And, it's more about getting them the visibility, getting them to stretch beyond what they have done in the past to really help develop them into, wherever it is that they want to go. But I think as much, no one's perfect at it, but as much as possible, really trying to figure out how you can be the leader that somebody needs. Sometimes that's not what they want, but you need to be really more what they need to help both the company and them reach the full potential and their full success.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Sometimes folks just need to be told certain things. They might not realize what they're doing. They might not be self-aware. So you have to pull that out as a leader, which is a huge responsibility. And speaking of teams, tell me what you look for when you're hiring. I mean, what are some of the things that you look for that you could point to?
Yes, I probably have a little bit of a non-traditional approach when it comes to what I'm looking for in the team. I think for me, it's not necessarily, and probably you can tell by my background as well, you don't need to have 30 years in one very specific specialty in order to be successful. For me, it's actually a lot more about the quality somebody possesses, because my philosophy is you can learn anything. Like, you're able to learn anything. Do you have the qualities that are necessary to actually be successful in the role? My number one, hands down, is drive for results. So do you have initiative? Are you going to be curious? Are you going to dig in to figure out why something is happening? Are you going to be that person who goes the extra mile to deliver on what your project is? And you can tease that out through a lot of the behavioral interview questions. That's number one.
Yeah, I would love to hear what some of those are, but keep going.
Yes. And I think number two is, especially the further up you go in the organization or your career, communication skills, the ability to influence, the ability to negotiate with peers, also externally, is also extremely important, because, retail can be complex, but you actually, the more that you can simplify how you communicate those complexities, the better you're able to get your point across, and often the better you're able to influence outcomes. So I think the ability to kind of do those two things, if I'm really going to pare it down to just two things, I think those are the qualities that really lead to a successful organization.
So what are some tips you can share about finding people who are striving for success, like you were talking about?
So from a from a behavioral interview, just style, you're really needing. I think sometimes people maybe know what to say in terms of the right words,
right?
But what you're really digging for is what they've done. So it's different than knowing what to say. So it is, give me a specific example of a time when you handled an ambiguous situation. What are you most proud of accomplishing? Be specific. What exactly happened? What did you do? What did they do? So it's less about knowing and more about doing. And that sometimes is sort of the difference between, someone who will just be good and someone who's really great, because they've actually done, and you can kind of draw that parallel.
I love that.
I'm also not afraid to ask the hard interview questions, like, tell me about a time you made a mistake.
Right.
Tell me about working with someone that you didn't get along with, and how did you handle it? Because those will also kind of pull apart what kind of team member they're going to be. And there's not a right or wrong answer, except for I don't ever make mistakes. That is a wrong answer.
Yeah.
Just kidding. There is a wrong answer. That is it.
Yeah.
Because we all do. It's being self-aware. It's understanding that you know what it is and how to correct it going forward, and like some of the steps that you would take to not do that anymore.
That's great.
Yeah.
So many of the leaders here in retail in general are navigating turnarounds, whether or not it's a brand transformation, their entire company is being transformed. I know Michael's has gone through some transformation recently. So could you talk a little bit about leading through transformation, or sort of, I don't know if you could offer best practices or just share your experiences?
Yes, I think if you are in retail at some point in time, you are going to be part of a transformation, right? So it's probably something that all of us, no matter what company you work at, you're going to experience at some point. And I think that as leading through transformation, whether your team is, however you feel about your team, change is hard. for team members. And so whether it's, even if it's like innovation, even if it's fun change, even if it's growth, sometimes just doing things differently, thinking like is just a challenging process. And so leading people through change, having them feel like they are part of it is probably the most important thing. Not feeling like something's done outside of them and they feel out of control, but feeling like you are fully invested in making that happen can help really get the whole team behind whatever the change is, whether that's, again, a good change, or what I call like an innovation or a growth change, or, a hard change where we have to think about how to downsize and how to become more efficient with less, which a lot of us have to do in retail as well. I think for me, this is not necessarily for everyone, but for me, humor is really important, and so no matter what the situation is, or what kind of transformation that you're going through, it's just fun to work with people that you can have a good time with, and you can laugh, and you can, just kind of let go of some of that tension that naturally builds up in the workplace. I think that for me, I think it's really what keeps my team excited to show up to work sometimes, is because they know when they come in, it's going to be a lot of work. I've got high standards, but we're going to have a good time while we're at it. So, yeah.
So I feel like leadership nowadays is just leadership through change, especially in the retail industry. So let's talk a little bit about the future, about retail, what you're excited about. I mean, we're here at a retail show. Why don't we first talk about what you love most about retail, and then what you're most excited about going forward, or this year and beyond?
I still love selling stickers, so I like that. What I love most about retail is how dynamic it is. I think that's sometimes what people don't like about retail, is that it feels like just as soon as you figure it out, then everything changes, right? So it's just ever evolving. But to me, that's what's fun. I think the problem solving, the energy,
being creative.
Thank you for throwing that in there.
Creative solutions.
Yes, especially with Michael's. That's our tagline. So, creativity. That is fun. That's the fun part about going to work. And so I think what makes me excited about being in retail is that it's dynamic and ever changing. Sometimes, with tariffs, that's for the bad.
Right.
But sometimes with AI, that's exciting, and it's fun, and there's new things that you can do along those lines. What was the second part of the question? I already forgot.
Just what you're looking forward to in terms of the industry going forward, or kind of goals and aspirations and all that good stuff.
I am most interested, so I lead e-commerce, and there's a lot I love about e-commerce, but I'm going to tell you I'm most interested to see how and if the store experience, how that transforms over time. So I know that there's been a lot of focus on stores and how to make that store experience something exciting. There's been a lot of people that haven't figured it out, a few people that have. But for me, it's like, what does the store experience really become? Because I think it's going to, for a lot of, I will say, specialty retailers especially, I don't think what we have done in the past, or even slightly tweaking what we've done in the past, is going to be the reason to come into the store.
Yeah.
And so, who, you haven't asked me this yet, but who do I think has done this really well? I think Barnes and Noble have done an unbelievable job at turning around what the store experience is like by offering something that online can't, which is curation. Knowing what that next book to buy is, and how they have that in-store set up today. Like, I was blown away the last time I was in there. I hadn't been in there for a while, and I read about their transformation story, and I walked into a Barnes and Noble, and I was like, I can see why people are getting excited about coming in store again and not just buying books online. So,
wow, that's so cool. We had Jamie Siegelman here yesterday or the day before with American Girl, and she had some great stories about in-store and how it's almost like a hospitality category. So I ran through some of the questions because I definitely want to have questions from the audience, since Heather has to run to another session. So we have about 5 minutes. So does anyone have any questions for Heather?
So you mentioned creativity before, and I know Michael's is a very personal, creative environment, right? And it's very personalized. How are you leading the transformation from a transactional retailer to more of an experience-driven brand?
So there is a lot in the works on that, a lot of which I cannot discuss right now. But one of the things that is going to be really exciting that we are doing that I can discuss is creating a more, like, if I walk into, people love Michaels, I will just tell you that. Every time I tell someone I work at Michaels, they're like, I love Michaels. And then they tell me about whatever creative project that they work on. And that's exciting because there's a lot of love to build off of it. I think when you walk into a Michaels though, it doesn't feel as creative as you might imagine an arts and crafts retailer feeling. You know, it's organized for the most part, maybe outdated depending on the Michaels that you go in. It's mission driven. You know, you can go in and find what you're looking for, but it doesn't really inspire you to discover or to kind of stick around. So one of the things that we're doing actually right now is rolling out a balloon experience in our stores. It'll be way more interactive. It's just starting, but there will be a lot more of that to come as we kind of think about how we're reinventing the store experience, especially because we have a lot of license to do it given the category that we're in. So more to come.
This is just selfish. I just bought an embroidery machine from Michaels like a couple weeks ago. And I use YouTube University to teach myself how to use it and like new designs. I would love a class within Michaels to learn how to use my brother machine and learn additional components of sewing. So that's a selfish plug.
Number one, I love that you bought that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Cannot wait to see what you make. Yes, you know, we actually have classrooms in our stores. They're used for storage today. Very, very well used. And we have to, I will say there's going to need to be some work to unlock exactly how we get people to show up. We've tried different things over time with like various degrees of success. I think, you know, online, to your point, it's just so easy to go on YouTube. We actually also have our own library of video resources that are free for the most part on the site that you can check out. But there is something just, I think, magical about being in person and creating together, especially in this category, that is left to be unlocked. And so, you know, we've got to find the magic that exists there. That's not just you have to be home alone watching YouTube, you know, working on your machine, but that you can come in and really be in community. And, you know, and hopefully that is kind of the future of how we think about the space.
All right. Well, I think that's all we have time for.
Great.
So anyway, thank you so much, Heather. It was great chatting with you, and I really appreciate you sharing your leadership journey with us.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please go to womeninretail.com/podcasts for show notes. Women in Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review our show. Lastly, if you're a female retail leader interested in joining our community at Women in Retail Leadership Circle, visit womeninretail.com/apply. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Women in Retail Talks.